question that I deal with fairly often is for startup payment processors and what, if any, licenses that requires. And there's two real traditional senses of a payment processor. One, there's the payment processor who is not in the flow of funds between the merchant and the acquiring bank, the acquirer, right? And that payment processor is providing software as a service to facilitate that credit card transaction. And then there's a payment facilitator or PayFac, which is in the flow of funds, right? Which is actually collecting the money from the merchant, passing it to the acquirer, and the acquirer is paying back to the to the merchant. And so the question becomes, what license do I require? And in the payment facilitator PayFac model, the general rule is that you would require a state money transmitter license, and there's 49 of them, Montana not having a money transmitter license, and the District of Columbia. So to really operate within the United States, you need 50 of these licenses. And the question becomes, do you have to go obtain all 50? And all 50 can be cumbersome, right? Looking at the fees as of yesterday, the total application fees for all 50 jurisdictions is in the range of $56,000, and your timing to go through the process, even using the NMLS, which covers all but 6 different states as a sort of combined application, can take you a half a year or more. So it's definitely an investment of time, definitely an investment of money. And the question is, for payment processing, which obviously is very lucrative, and it's a great business to be in, especially in the high risk category, do I need to go through that process? Is it worth being a payment facilitator versus a traditional sort of payment processor? And the question really lies in an exception to the general rule that you need a license, and that is the agent of payee exception, right? And 26 states, and soon to be more, have an agent of the payee exception to having to obtain a money transmitter license. And that agent of the payee says, subject, if you are a payment processor or a PayFac, subject to a written agreement, you hold yourself out as a payment processor and you are in the flow of funds but acting as an agent to that merchant, you're exempt from money transmission licensing requirements. In the states that don't, they're still saying, since your payment facilitator is in the flow of funds, holding the funds, transmitting the funds, that you meet the definition of a money transmitter, and you certainly do. Like, you certainly meet that definition, but for the exception that exists in these 26 states. And it seems to be a trend, a growing trend, especially with changes in technology and fintech and how these things sort of operate, that the agent of pay exemption is going to only increase. And it's important to remember that the acquiring bank is still responsible for the payment back to the merchant. So there's really the flow of funds is important when you're looking at licensure, but the ultimate liability or onus lands with that acquiring bank, which makes payment facilitators very difficult to set up, because you have to create that banking relationship, which isn't always easy to find. But to answer the question, in terms of startup payment processor, what licenses you require and what's necessary, you're generally looking at about 24 licenses. As of yesterday, the application fees was approximately $26,000 for those states that do require it, and you've got a surety bond on top of that. And the process, still with the states involved, still is probably 4 to 5, maybe 6 months. And the majority of them are an MLS, meaning that common application. But it's certainly possible, but not as perhaps cumbersome as it used to be, given the agent of payee exemption. So definitely, if you have a question or want to know which states do have that exemption possible, definitely reach out to me. It's Adam at adamtracy.io. Happy to answer any questions you have, give you that list of exempted states and states that you have to apply for, and I'll talk to you soon.